I'm Kelly Johnson. When you think about it, history, it's kind of a funny thing. A lot of what we learned in school is just a version of what actually happened. That's why today, as Black History Month comes to an end, we're gonna uncover some hidden stories and how they help shape our nation and its people. Coming up, you probably didn't know this even existed, but there's a lot of history at this church I'm at. It happens to be the only one in Arizona that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. preached at. First, we want to show you around another place in the valley that you may have heard of, but not for what it originally was, a school for Black children. Adam Waltz joins us from the Booker T. Washington School, or as it's called today, the home of the Phoenix New-Times magazine.
Still with its original door intact, a lot has been built around what used to be Booker T. Washington Elementary School. The school was built in 1926 to serve Black school children in Phoenix. In 1980, the school moved to a new location, leaving the original building abandoned, but not forgotten by the African American community. It also caught the eye of a local publication looking for a home office.
In 1985, New-Times did a bidding war with a couple different real estate contractors.
Phoenix New-Times won the contest, which is good considering the alternative.
Won against some real estate businesses that had planned to bulldoze it, and so it was cool for us to kind of keep that history alive and cultivate it from there.
Phoenix New-Times turned the building into a hub for award-winning journalism, showcasing visually stunning magazine covers and the annual Best of Phoenix Awards that recently debuted as a television show on Your Phoenix CW.
Copper.
Yeah, half meat and half topping.
Phoenix New-Times has preserved a lot of the original school, using principal offices for actual offices and classrooms for workspace. Even with the change, the history of Booker T. Washington was still there.
What's really cool is because it is a historic building, we do have things like Boy Scouts that come and tour the grounds, and it just kind of serves as an awesome place to learn about some history.
Upstairs, a boardroom named the Memorial Room is dedicated to the once Black-only school. And there's another side to the old school. People working in the Phoenix New-Times building will be quick to share.
And it scared them enough that they quit.
From unknown typing at night.
There's a desk in the corner over there, and we all hear typing over there when no one's sitting over there.
To something a little more bone-chilling.
A little boy in the hallway late at night.
The ghost of a little child standing in the hallway.
All those ghost stories have led us here, to this window that overlooks the front of the New-Times building. Now, some of the stories say a little boy will appear right here. Phoenix New-Times has not yet looked into the facts of the hauntings around their own building. Although we haven't seen any ghosts here, there may already be one in our midst. It's an I'm the ghost kind of thing. It's just some tricky editing. I'm not really a ghost, but I'm just gonna dissolve out.
Ghost or not, if it wasn't for the New-Times winning that bidding war 33 years ago, Booker T. Washington Elementary School may not exist at all. For Hidden History and Your Phoenix CW, I'm Adam Waltz.
On the surface, it looks like a boat, but the story of the Amistad is one of the most captivating in our nation's history. What happened on board led to one of the earliest victories in the fight for social change and racial equality. Scott McDonald explains.
The Amistad was never meant to be a slave ship, but in 1839, off the coast of Cuba, that's what it became.
Slaves ended up on this boat by some owners that were a little bit shady and took a last-minute purchase. And they were brought onto the vessel in the dead of night, shackled, dressed in sailor garb because they didn't want to get caught.
It was built for supplies and cargo, not human beings. Despite that, 53 African natives were packed onto the ship in extreme conditions. It wasn't long before the captives revolted. Led by Sengbe Pie, they took back the ship.
He's your average everyday farmer from Mende land. He's one of these ordinary people that's put in an extraordinary circumstance, and he rises to the occasion. He becomes the hero of the story.
Today, Connecticut's Mystic Seaport, a replica of the Amistad sails again, part of the Discovering Amistad initiative. Its mission is to make sure the story and its impact on the nation is never forgotten. It sits in a harbor not far from New London, Connecticut, where the original eventually ended up over 175 years ago.
When the Amistad landed in Connecticut, abolitionists were already organized and they jumped on the case immediately.
The Africans found themselves in a legal battle, even defended by former President John Quincy Adams. At that time, it was not a popular stance to take.
Yeah, there were a lot of people who were still very much in support of slavery at this time. It was extremely controversial, and some of the newspapers out of New York especially take a very different perspective, very unsympathetic to the Africans.
The highly publicized case made it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
But ultimately they decided they're from Africa, and as free men who had been kidnapped, they had every right to defend themselves and free themselves. And so the Supreme Court ultimately decided that they should be set free.
37 of the captives returned home to Africa in a trip funded by local abolitionists. But the court victory did not end slavery. Far from it.
The Amistad case actually didn't have that big of an impact on Supreme Court law, on precedent, but it was a symbolic case.
The painting of Sengbe Pie, who led the revolt on board the Amistad, became a beacon of hope for slaves all across the nation.
To tell us that progress is possible, that we can keep moving forward, and that there are people like Sengbe Pie and allies like John Quincy Adams and the abolitionists that help them that are continually working for social change. And we see that today.
This is one of those shining moments for abolitionists and others who believe in real equality.
An example of the justice system working.
Being unbiased, being impartial, and allowing the small voice to be held at the same level as those in power.
Connecting the hope, the freedom, fought and won, to the ongoing struggle for social justice across America.
We're still seeing this social change happening through the courts, but then also with a massive amount of support from grassroots organizing and local activists, from children to lawyers to musicians to artists to poets. Everybody's working to make change, and that directly connects to the Amistad story.
Reporting at Mystic Seaport in Connecticut, Scott McDonald.
Still ahead, this beautiful church may have started from humble beginnings, but today it's rich in history. Plus, 7 women, 17 arrests. Why these sisters say they would do it all over again, next on Hidden History.